This is the third video in SBP's Recovery Navigation series. Let's talk about insurance, what the claims process looks like, tips for working through it, and seeking the maximum settlement for which you're eligible. First, what will insurance cover? This depends on the terms and the limits of your individual policy, but typically homeowners and renters insurance will cover eligible losses that are caused by wind, wind-driven rain, and other covered perils like fire, but not losses covered by flooding. So this may include funds to repair or replace damages to your home and property, for additional living expenses if you're displaced from your home for a period of time while it's being repaired, and other disaster-related needs that may be covered in your policy, such as debris removal. So this is something that you can talk with your agent about and review a copy of your declarations page for more details. Flood insurance will cover eligible losses caused by flooding. So it's very important when working with any insurance company to be able to describe accurately what was the cause of each damage that you are seeking settlement for, because it matters how they were damaged as far as which insurance policy may cover it. On the flood insurance side, this can include funds to repair or replace damages to your home and property, and some reimbursement for eligible preventative steps that you may have taken, such as purchasing sandbags or renting a storage unit and relocating items prior to the storm. So be sure to save receipts. If you took any steps like that, you may be eligible for reimbursement. And then finally, if your home is substantially damaged and you'll need to meet building code requirements for flood mitigation as part of your rebuilding process, you may be able to access the increased cost of compliance provision for your policy, which would provide up to $30,000 to help cover those eligible expenses. If you have any relevant insurance policies, you'll want to reach out right away to get the claims process started. After you do so, you'll reach out to FEMA and register for disaster assistance, because you'll be working through both of these processes at the same time. It's important to note, as you're working through the insurance process, regardless of which policy you may have, that if you are not satisfied with your initial settlement offer, you can negotiate. You don't have to accept the first settlement offer if you don't feel it's fair based on the terms of your policy and the losses that you've experienced. So know that you can work with your adjuster and your insurance companies to seek an amount that you can all agree on. Some tips for filing an insurance claim. As we've discussed, first and foremost, reaching out to your insurance company as soon as possible to get the process underway. You want to gather as much information as you can up front so you don't have surprises later. Find out what kinds of losses are covered under your policy, and if you have any relevant coverage for other things like debris removal, for example. Get a copy of your declarations page and be sure to review it. Also find out how long you have to file a claim, and if your agent has an idea about how long that's likely to take, to set expectations around timing, as well as any additional living expenses coverage that you may have. And it's important to be very careful when reading the terms of what's covered under your additional living expenses, because they're often quite strict and you need to make sure you're compliant with all of them, as well as saving all of your receipts to document your expenses for reimbursement. You want to take photos and record what's been damaged right away. If this is something that you may find too difficult, finding a friend or family member to do it for you can be very helpful. Make a list of all damages for your high value items with as much information as you're able to provide about the brand, the purchase date, the price at the time that you got it. If you have a recent home inventory, it can be helpful to compare your list of damages against that home inventory. If you don't have one, check out social media posts or any recent photos that you may have taken in and around the home for images of your possessions, which may help you to assemble that list, remind you of something you may not have included yet. You'll want to take reasonable steps to prevent further damage. So once you've started the cleanup process, moving items out to make it easier to dry out the home and limit or prevent mold growth. But remember, other than things that could cause health hazards like spoiled food, if at all possible, do not throw anything out until your claims adjusters and inspectors have an opportunity to see them first. Be aware that your insurance company may also be able to advance you funds for temporary repairs, so this is something you can talk with your agent about. Document everything. Keep notes on all of your conversations with your insurance representatives, and when you get to the rebuilding phase with your contractors, copies of all of your forms and correspondence so that you have backups in case of any confusion or issues encountered down the road. If you have a mortgage company, reach out to your mortgage holder right away. Insurance settlement checks for repairs to the structure of your home may be written out to the mortgage company as the technical owner of your property. So you want to understand what the process is for getting access to those funds so that they can be released and you can start moving forward with rebuilding. Work closely with your claims adjuster. Show them all of your damage and be very thorough. Share your inventory and photos and have them walk you through step by step the claims process and what to expect. They're there to help, so ask them any questions you may have about what is coming next. You'll begin to search for contractors and work to get at least 3 written estimates from qualified contractors as soon as possible. These should include details about material and labor costs. If a prospective contractor asks, you don't need to share your insurance settlement amount information with them if you've already received one. They should be basing their work estimate on the cost of the job, not how much they think you might be able to pay for it. Once you have your estimates in hand, work with your insurance company to determine if the settlement offer is sufficient for the proposed repair costs, or if you need to seek adjustments either in the cost of the estimate or the amount of the settlement that you received to meet your disaster cause needs. Don't feel rushed to agree to a settlement amount or to select a contractor. Take the time you need to make sure you have all of the information for an informed decision. If that means more time to complete your list of lost and damaged items or to thoroughly vet prospective contractors, take it. If there are any discrepancies between the bids that you receive from contractors you're interviewing and the estimate provided by your adjuster, you can contact them to discuss the differences and work on a resolution. And if you can't reach one, you can contact their supervisor, and failing that, the insurance company's claims department, to work on an amount that you can agree to. If you're having trouble, you can reach out to your state's Department of Insurance to see what advice they may offer or assistance they might be able to provide. Another tip that we've received is to focus on spending settlement money only on repairs and damaged items. We all have a list of things that we'd like to take care of, but recovery funds can go very quickly, and if we use them for anything other than critical repairs, we may not have enough to get our home back to a safe and livable condition. So it's important to be diligent in using settlement money just for disaster-caused damages and repairs. And finally, to be prepared to be and stay very involved in the process. If your home is only partially damaged and you're able to secure a good contractor quickly, This may only be a few weeks, but if you've had significant damage that will require rebuilding some or all of your home, this process could take many months, and you need to stay as actively involved as possible. As much as you're able, make arrangements with your employer so that you or a member of your family can be physically present and regularly check on repair progress at your home. Being very organized, keeping good records, being proactive about checking up on your claims and your contractor progress, asking questions when you have them, and if you have any concerns, pushing back until you're satisfied with the response are all things that will help get you and your family back home as safely and quickly as possible. Be aware as well that the initial settlement isn't always the final claim settlement. So if down the road you find additional disaster-caused damage that wasn't caught in your first inspection, you can reach out to your insurance agent and make them aware, because you may be able to receive a supplemental claim for that damage. So again, being diligent and in regular contact with your insurance company, advocating for your needs, is what's going to help make sure you get all of the resources that you are due from your insurance policy. The flood insurance claims process, if you have flood insurance, is very similar, but there are a few additional possibilities if you do not agree with the estimate from your adjuster. So after your adjuster visits, they'll send you a detailed room-by-room cost estimate of the damage and a proof of loss form. If you agree, you can sign it and submit it to your insurance company. But if you don't agree with the suggested amount, there are a series of steps that you can work through until you can agree on a new amount. And this is something that can be helpful to have your general contractor involved with. You can discuss with your adjuster, and if that doesn't get you resolution, then your adjuster's supervisor, and then your insurance company's claims department. If you still can't reach an agreement, you'll complete a proof of loss for the total amount that you are requesting and send it with all of your supporting documentation to your insurance company. If they agree, they'll settle your claim. If they disagree, you'll receive a payment for the undisputed amount and a detailed letter explaining the denial of any disputed amount. If your claim is denied, either in whole or in part, you have a few options. The first is to send back an amended proof of loss with more supporting documentation. The second is to submit a formal appeal to FEMA within 60 days of receiving your denial letter with your supporting documentation. And then finally, and most seriously, to file a lawsuit against your insurer within a year of receiving the denial letter. It generally is helpful to work through the least extreme step to start. So your first approach should be your adjuster, to discuss your concerns and to share with them all of your evidence for why you may be seeking a higher settlement amount. If you're not able to resolve, then work through the higher steps from there. And just like other insurance policies, if you find additional damage after you file the claim, or repairs are going to cost more than estimated, contact your agent to file for additional payment. In the case of flood insurance, you may also be available for an advance. So when you initially call to report flood-related damages, you can ask your agent about the possibility of advancing you settlement funds to help with the cleanup process. There's more information about both working with your homeowners and renters insurance and filing a flood insurance claim in SBP's recovery guides on the website, as mentioned earlier. A few tips for working through the flood insurance claims process. As always, to document damage thoroughly, to save swatches of carpet, furniture, upholstery, curtains to show your inspector, to be able to verify that this was the type of curtain or flooring that you had, so you can advocate for what it's worth as part of your settlement, to be very clear and accurate when describing how flooding caused the damages you are seeking a settlement for. This is true for any type of insurance claim that you're filing. You need to be clear about what caused the damage because that will indicate which of your insurance policies will cover it. Make sure to keep and submit all receipts for any steps that you may have taken ahead of time to prevent damage because some of them may be reimbursable. And remember that you are responsible for taking steps to prevent or limit mold growth in your home once you're able to safely access it. There are sometimes rumors circulating that you can leave it and insurance will take care of mold damage, but your insurance company will not cover damages that you could have reasonably prevented. So it's important to address any mold problems as quickly as it's safe to do so, so that you don't run into issues down the road. And we'll talk a little bit more about mold later. Understanding how the claims process works, thoroughly documenting all damages to your home and property, and advocating to receive every settlement dollar for which you're eligible will help get you the critical funds you need for recovery. In our next video, we'll talk about federal disaster assistance, the two main programs, what they cover, and what you need to know about the process. As always, for more information about SBP, visit our website at sbpusa.org and contact us with any questions at training@sbpusa.org.